All right, Rob, let's get to it. Last night while we were doing the show, the first half of the Browns and the Steelers game was on, and Steelers end up winning 26-22. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, who used to be a star when he was in Houston and looked like he might be headed toward a Hall of Fame career. To say the last few years for him have been pretty bad, have gone badly, would be an understatement. He decides he wants to be traded from the Houston Texans, sits out a year. In the midst of sitting out, it comes out that he's accused of sexually harassing some women masseuses, and it was, how many of them, Rob? About 30 or so? It was a ton.
No, it was more than that, wasn't it?
I think ultimately it was around 60 women that have made statements or something, but it was a ton, several dozen women, and end up settling and being suspended for 10 games.
66 is
or
the
11
number,
games last year. Was it 66? Wow. 11 games last year. But in the midst of that, got a $230 million fully guaranteed contract with the Browns. So he played 6 games last year, Rob. Didn't go well. People threw it off as rust. Okay, we get it. But this year, in the 2 games he's played, he's been even worse. And he's had a whole offseason to get with the team, get with the offense, get with the coaching staff. And last night, Rob, he threw the first play of the game, he threw a pick 6. Wasn't really his fault because it did hit the receiver, backup tight end, Harrison Bryant, I think was his name. Hit him in the hands, but still, it wasn't a well-thrown ball. It was high and, made it tougher to catch. And so it was somewhat his fault because it just wasn't well thrown.
And it counts in his interception record.
It definitely counts in that. And then he had what I like to call a rip 6. He was strip sacked in a fumbled, and T.J. Watt picked it up and scored what amounted to the game-winning touchdown. And then he also had another fumble. Rob had 2 penalties for face masking. I mean, it was a bad night all around for Deshaun Watson.
That's bad for a quarterback, and one was out of bounds, Chris. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. I mean, strange things can happen, but that's a bit odd. And Rob, as bad as he was last year, and we know he was bad, he's been even worse in these 2 games. 55% completions, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, passer rating of 69.1 through his first 2 games. And simple question, Rob, do you think he can ever, I don't even want to say get back to what he used to be, but can he be a good quarterback again? He's only 28. He just turned 28.
Good there's a lot of middle of the road quarterbacks. I think
he's not even that right now.
I think he could be that. I'm not convinced he can fully recover because he had a whole off season, Chris, with his team. He had a full training camp. There's no reason, 0 reason why he should be playing this poorly. No reason. Because it's different last year. You come in, you on suspension, whatever, new team, you weren't familiar with people. He went through everything. And he looks worse than I've ever seen him. And he was a stud as a quarterback with the Texans. He was must-see TV. I don't know how many times I saw 375 yards and 4 scores and all that stuff, Chris, and you watch the highlights and go, man.
3-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah. So I'm out on Deshaun Watson as far as returning to stardom. I'm not saying that he can't, with the lack of quarterbacks in the NFL and what people are doing, could he be around and be on a team for the next few years or whatever? Sure. Not at the money he's making, but could he be around?
He's going to be on that team.
Right, but he can be around in the NFL, but I'm not convinced. I just don't understand what this year's slow start has to do with anything. Because he should look good.
If he just plays decent football with that defense, which is giving up 1 touchdown in 2 games, which is not letting an opponent in the red zone,
You should be
Think
2-0,
that.
Chris. Period.
Oh, yeah. They should be 2-0 and riding high. They got a good run game. And, look, our prayers go out, and we encourage you, those of you who prayed, to pray for Nick Chubb and his family. Tough injury last night, and he'll be out for the season. Even that being the case, Rob, I think their run game will be fine. They've got a good offensive line, a top offensive line. And they got Jerome Ford came in, the backup, and did great yesterday. And they're going to meet with Kareem Hunt and maybe bring him back. So I think their run game will be fine. They've got good receivers. They got a great, very good defense, a great offensive line, Rob. Deshaun Watson, if he's decent, they could be a playoff team. And the baffling thing, Rob, he's 28, as I said. Russell Wilson's 34. If he's done, if he'll never be what he used to be, you can at least be like, well, 34, he's one of the older quarterbacks in the league. Aaron Rodgers last year, he was 39. Maybe he's done, but he's had a full career. He's old. 28? And you've been out for a year and a half? It is stunning that he's so bad. And, Rob, I wonder if all that he's gone through, and it's his fault, right? Self-imposed, no doubt about that. It's nobody else's fault.
Nobody did anything to him.
Right. No. It is him. But I wonder, because, Rob, this guy had an image like Jalen Hurts. Remember? Dabo Swinney, his college coach, said he's going to be the Michael Jordan of the NFL. And I know that's not all about character, but it's somewhat, right? Great work ethic. This guy is a good kid. He can be the face of the NFL. Like, his image was pristine. And so for you to go through something like this, I wonder, Rob, now he's put on a brave face. You wouldn't know it from his press conferences. And I'm just speculating. This has nothing to do with it. But, Rob, when he's standing up at that mic, a lot of people are thinking some things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whenever they see his face, a lot of people are thinking some things about him that are negative. And so I wonder if something like that is bothering him as well.
It could be, because it doesn't feel like it would be physical, because he's had time, right?
And he's young.
He's had time to have a full off season, to be around his guys, to learn everything. Like, you just would think, all right, last year, all right, yeah, he was out for 2 years. I get it. He's rusty. It's going to take a while to get back. This is just surprising that he's, this bad into year 2.
Yeah, it was a bad move by the Browns, unless he turns it around. And I'm not.
Is this karma? Is this juju? Is this, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't think it's
on
that.
The Browns. On the Browns.
Oh. I don't look at it as any of that. People do bad things, negative things, stupid things all the time and get away with it. So I don't think it's anything like that, but I just think, I'll say this, Rob. Now, I tend to agree with you that it looks like his days of being a star are over, but I'm not ready to say he can't be a good quarterback. And if he's just, as I said earlier, a good quarterback, the Browns could do something this season. Who knows what's going to happen with the Bengals if Joe Burrow's out for any stretch of time. The Steelers, even though they won last night, their offense is atrocious. And the Browns could be right there. There are only 2 undefeated teams in the conference. So if Deshaun Watson can just play serviceable football, which not too much to ask for a guy making $230 million, then the Browns could be in business. I'm not ready to say he can't do that.
Let me give you some numbers real quick, and then 877-99 on Fox. People can jump in. Deshaun Watson across, Chris, 8 games in Cleveland, 4-4 record, 57% passing, 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 186 passing yards.
per game.
Yeah, yards per game.
He's looked much better as a runner. He's
Okay.
thrown passes that just don't look good at all.
And
His
then let's
deep
go to
balls
Baker-
aren't even close.
Baker Mayfield. In his final season in Cleveland, 6-8 record, 60% completion, 17 touchdowns, 13 picks, and he had 215 yards a game. So those are the comparisons. So Deshaun has actually played worse than even Baker Mayfield.
And Baker's
in
actually
Cleveland.
playing well in these first two games.
He's playing well.
I don't think it'll continue, but we'll see.